Okay, that concludes the public comment. Any comments from the board?
Please.
I've given some serious thought to the things we've heard tonight and in previous meetings about Board Policy 4113 and about the request of some of our public for what we should change. In my opinion, Board Policy 4113 is clear, and I agree that the transfer and assignment of certificated personnel should be the responsibility of the superintendent. She's acted under the agreement with the union, and it falls under her duties in managing the district. The board makes policy and oversees that policies are being implemented. The board should not be involved in the management of personnel. The superintendent serves at the pleasure of the board, and if she mismanages the district, the board has alternatives and can take action. In the case of West Valley, I believe she made a thoughtful, responsible decision to create a healthy and emotional environment for students and staff. I personally do not wish to change Board Policy 4113. Does anyone else wish to speak, or does anyone wish to call for a change in that policy?
So I have some things I want to say on the next agenda item, but I will just talk about this agenda item here. I do not see us.
Louder, please. Can I request you to speak?
Better? Better? Is that
There
good?
you go.
I'll hold the mic closer. There's a real difference in my mind between what I would call governance and administration. The board governs. The administration manages, administers. I don't see how, well, I'll say a couple things. One, I don't see this ever happening again. I don't see a situation in a school, in the district, where this is, where the situation requires a significant change. So I don't, and I don't see how to logistically do what you're asking. I mean, I've thought about this, but the dilemma that you have is that if a massive change is required, there's clearly something going on that's not healthy, and it involves people. And I don't know how to publicly disclose the behavior that's going on without infringing on the privacy rights of individuals. I just don't know how to do that. I'm not, you had your chance, now I'm talking. So I understand that people think that if we do this, if we put this in place, there's a safeguard. But I just don't see how that's, I don't think it's going to work. So I'm not in favor of changing the policy.
Any other comments from the board? Go ahead.
Yes, I just would like to echo similar sentiment that Phyllis and Joe have stated, because we are here to set the policy and direction for the district, and we hire the superintendent to take care of the administrative and day-to-day working of the district. And so we do not think that is our it's our responsibility to set the policy and to do the oversight, but not to be making the decision as to which teacher needs to move or which custodian needs to go where. So I would echo on your side of not wanting to make the change of a policy which is statewide and is, also recommended by CSBA, which all of us get a lot of information through.
Anyone else wish to speak, Saw?
Yeah, I have some other comments too that I'll share after the next agenda item. But for this one, I just want to say, as Ed Brown, I think, I can't remember now if you read John DeMore's comments or just asked for them again, but that there be a public discourse before we vote on this type of thing. That was also a change you wanted to the policy. And again, I've thought about this a lot, and I know you're saying, not just you, but the collective group, people are saying, you don't have to say exactly what personnel issue happened, but we just want to know a little bit more than we know. And we've gone back and forth to our lawyers saying, can we say this, can we say this? And there is nothing more that we can say. And I know also, because I read the blogs, I read the internet, I'm on all the sites, you have found out things, and people have found out things, but, and I know you don't like any of our analogies, but I'm just going to speak to one, and you can, blog about it tomorrow, how stupid it is, but I believe in it. So it's like if you go to the doctor's office with your child, and your whole family goes, the grandparents, the kid, the mom, and the dad, and you go into the doctor's office, and you know your child has some defect, maybe a genetic birth defect, and you talk to the doctor about what to do, and you all know what the doctor said, but you walk out, and one person could tell their friend, like the husband could tell their friend, well, my son has headaches, and the wife could tell the friend, oh, my son has leg injury, and the grandma could say, like, oh, my son went to this other country years ago, and this happened. Like, you all are entitled to say little parts of the story, or whatever happened, your side of it, but the doctor cannot speak. And so we're in a very difficult position because, yes, the emails have gotten, because of the Public Records Act, you have gotten some emails, and you had, teachers have said things, and you found some documents that we aren't allowed to release. Documents that were handed out in meetings were taken back, but if someone put it into their pocket and then it was released, we still can't comment. That's the law for us. So I'm sorry that we can't give you, we can't have a public discourse on this issue because I don't want to say we're doctors, I'm not a doctor, but we're in that privacy position where we are not able to say, and other people can say, anybody else in the community can say what they want. So it's a very frustrating place to be in, and so we can't have public discourse before the vote because we wouldn't be able to tell you anything more than we've already been transparent about everything we possibly can. Trust me, we've asked again and again. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm sorry that it has to be that way.
Kristen, any comments from you?
Yes, I just want to say the mass transfer wasn't the plan before, and when time comes, there's a MOU, everything. Even though the board vote is not required, but we are fully informed. So I know this situation is very, very difficult, but I don't think in the future we don't plan to have that again.
Thank you, Kristen. So, is there anyone on the board that would like to propose that we bring 4113 back? Someone, Kristen, no? Okay, thank you. Next is an action item, and it's the adoption of resolution number 151606, resolution of the Board of Education of the Cupertino Union School District regarding transfers at West Valley Elementary. This is in response to a request that was made. During public comment for the board to agendize and vote publicly on the superintendent's June decision in accordance with the CUSD CEA collective bargaining agreement to transfer West Valley staff. Board action was not required and a vote after the fact cannot occur. However, the board will consider this resolution of support, and I'm going to read it in case some of you don't have a copy. It's a resolution, so there are a lot of whereases. I hope you can all hear me. Resolution of the Board of Education of the Cupertino Union School District regarding transfers at West Valley Elementary. Whereas the governing board of the Cupertino Union School District has had a long-standing history of an ongoing commitment to transparency, community involvement, and dedication to maintaining the highest quality schools in California. And whereas the governing board is committed to providing environments that support learning, creativity, safety, and engagement for all students and staff. And whereas, in accordance with applicable law, governing board members were consulted, informed, and aware of conditions at West Valley Elementary during the 2014-15 school year. And whereas appropriate consultation with association leadership, Human Resources, and Legal Counsel occurred, and after investigation of the conditions at after investigation of the conditions at West Valley, interventions were implemented to attempt to assist, and whereas due thought and consideration were given to other options and the privacy interests of the individuals involved before determining the need to transfer staff from West Valley, and whereas transfer and reassignment decisions are subject to requirements set forth in the agreement between the Cupertino Union School District and the Cupertino Education Association, specifically Article 6, Section 6.5, and whereas the agreement vests considerable discretion in the superintendent and the district adhere to the requirements in Article 6, Section 6.5, and whereas the board recognizes the transfer of staff from West Valley Elementary was an extraordinary action and not a strategy the district would use under ordinary circumstances. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Cupertino Union School District as follows. Number 1, the foregoing recitals are hereby found to be true and correct. Number 2, the governing board supports the difficult decision to transfer West Valley staff. Number 3, the governing board is in full support of the superintendent's leadership. And it ends with approved, passed, and adopted by the Board of Education of the Cupertino Union School District on this 15th day of September 2015 by the following vote. And there's a place to record the vote and a place for my signature as president of the board. We have some public comments on this issue that we'd like to hear now.
First speaker is Jay Welshofer.
Thank you. I hadn't expected to speak, so this is going to be a little off the cuff. First off, just so folks understand, my mom was a teacher for 35 years in public schools. I was a product of public school. And I completely agree with much of what I've heard tonight. And I especially feel for the young couples that you guys with the daughter. My son was in the same situation a couple years ago. Health issues, stress, low self-esteem, those sorts of things. I understand lots of folks here have had great experience at West Valley. My family has not. I wasn't part of trying to instigate the change, but we've been actually pretty happy with it. We were trying to get into McAuliffe last year so badly that my kids were having such a bad time. I don't like the manner in which it was handled. I think that really the worst part of the communication was poorly done. But if you would go back, West Valley was sort of the place where principals, we have rose-colored glasses when we think about West Valley, but it was sort of the place where principals went to die. We had quite a handful of principals, folks, over the last few years. Let's not kid ourselves. I've stood in the principal's office and been lied to for years. So let's it's not all the teacher's fault, it's not all the principal's fault, it's not all the school board's fault, but I think there was a bad situation. And my biggest beef right now is probably with the Common Core and class size, and that's a different set of issues that you guys aren't responsible for, I understand. But I'm happy with the changes. My kids are happy. They have teachers that are quite engaged, they're passionate, enthusiastic. To the couple that said they have a teacher that was quite young during 9/11, my son had a great teacher last year. Actually, we were quite lucky, but she would have been 5 or 6 during 9/11. So these changes aren't all recent and aren't all bad. And as far as the real estate values, I think the real estate values are going to go up. People are going to realize very quickly that the board can't let this fail, and they're putting massive amounts of time, effort, and resources into this to try to make it better. So it's not all great on both sides. The grass is greener, and some families are quite happy with some of the changes. My kids aren't going to bed crying. I'm not having to drag them to school. They're not gnashing their teeth in their sleep, and I'm not having to deal with lots of health and stress issues. So I feel for you. I've been there. We're on the other side of that experience. So I just want to say, could have been handled better, could have been communicated better, but I'm quite happy with the changes as they stand. I think we have a fantastic principal. All the staff I've met have been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to selling everybody Chinese chicken salad at the walkathon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Rohan Chandran.
So I'm facing this way because I think I'm more addressing the crowd than the board. board in particular. So I'm that guy, right? Many of you I know see me as being the guy on the other side with the contrarian opinion. Some of you have taken great pains to assert that by anonymous emails and direct emails and all kinds of other things. And that's kind of the stuff I want to talk about, right? I'm really, and I spoke about this last time, I'm really disappointed at how we as a group of adults have conducted ourselves in all of this. I do want to applaud those, some of whom spoke today and last time, who have chosen to engage constructively in rational discourse. I don't agree with everything what everyone has said. I agree with a lot of things actually they've said, but they have put themselves across in a constructive way, and it just shows that mature adults can do that. We've had good conversations. I've had several good conversations with people who are on the other side, so to speak, and we've been able to constructively look at where we agree and where we disagree, and in many cases actually work together on things that are going on in the school. There was a comment earlier, and the previous speaker just referenced this, the 25-year-old teacher, and I did want to address that because to me that, I forget who said it, I apologize, but that reflects the emotion that is packed into how we're approaching it, because it's not a rational accusation that a 25-year-old teacher is a problem. My daughter at West Valley, my older daughter, had a 25-year-old teacher in second grade, or at least I think she was 25, and if she wasn't, I paid her a great compliment now. But, and she was one of the greatest teachers we could imagine. And we've also had a teacher whom I spoke to earlier this evening, who's, I think, still here today, I can't see everyone in the back, who has a lot more experience than that, and was also a fantastic teacher. So, you know, that comes on all sides of the spectrum, and that's not the kind of place where we need to be focusing our energies right now. There was a comment earlier that and to tie this all together, that the board had caused tension between parents. The board hasn't caused tension between parents, whether or not you agree or disagree with their actions or how they went about it. But any tension that exists between parents, I can assure you, is caused by us. We're the arbiters of how we interact with each other and how we deal with each other. Any of us who feel that, you know, we're not in control of our conduct, we probably need to be looking at the schools we went to, never mind this one, because that's something we need to take on for ourselves. So I really want to urge everyone once again, as we go through this, rational discourse, engage that way, engage constructively, act like the mature adults that we all should be. Stand up for what you believe. I applaud those who are standing up and asking the questions and challenging. That is something we all should feel very comfortable doing. But do it in a mature way. I really prefer not to receive the emails and other things this time around after I make these comments, so I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope we all think about how we're conducting ourselves and how we're setting an example for our children. Because I too want my children to learn that they should question when they think that something may not be right or things should be done better, but that there is a way to go about that we can all engage in. Ultimately, there are two constituents that I really am behind in all of this. One is our children, and the second is the fantastic teachers that are out there, not just the ones that we're seeing at West Valley now, but the ones who were at West Valley and are throughout our district. Those are the people we should be thinking about as we put all this together, and those are the people we need to get behind. Thank you.
Teresa Phillips.
So I'm Teresa Phillips. I don't have prepared remarks for this, but I just wanted to address some of what was being said. You asked about how we get there. How do you get there? How can you do this? I think that, there's a difference between governance and management. There's a reason that we have a legislative body that sets policy and then an administrative body that implements that policy. It's oversight, it's governance. And you well know that while you set policy, you're still accountable for the system's operation. You're still accountable to ensure that the leadership of the organization is carried out with respect to policy. And what's important about that is to ensure that there are measurements. And I can't find my notes that I made, but to ensure that there are measurements. If we don't know what we're trying to achieve, we don't know if we will have achieved it. And that really largely speaks to HSD. I think going back, though, how we all got here is through poor leadership to begin with. It's the code of conduct and the statute and everything says that it's the teacher's responsibility to educate our children, to involve the parents, but it's the leadership's responsibility, the principal, the administration, to create a culture and a climate that's conducive to learning, that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And as multiple people have pointed out, we now have 4 principals in 5 years. There was a serious lack of leadership at the school. And I think the teachers over time, they did, perhaps resort to self-preservation, as it's one pointed out. But that's in the absence of leadership. We've been told a number of different stories, and I think that's how we got here. Whether it started last 2 years ago, it started in May, we just heard about it, it was in January. When we're hearing different stories from the superintendent, from the president, and the media, from different people, it's difficult for us to discern the truth. And that's what we are all searching for, is to figure out ultimately what happened, why it happened, and how do we ensure that we don't get here again. And if we don't learn from history, we're bound to repeat it. I can't imagine, being a leader myself and an executive, I can't imagine how something could have been so wrong for so bad, or so bad for so wrong, that it requires such a drastic action. And we've heard a lot about the steps that were taken as corrective measures, preventative measures, but we've seen no evidence of that, 0. And there's all this discussion of mediation, mediation or facilitation, the differences, and there are big differences. But again, it goes back to the leadership and making sure that we have accountability, that we resolve problems and tensions and conflicts before they become confrontations and you can't do something about them. But then ultimately, once that happens, it is operating in a transparent environment and asking questions and giving the same answer when we ask the question. We're just trying to understand what happened. And so that's what I believe is how we get here, how we leave this place and how we heal, because it is real. And I am one of the parents that have been heavily involved. I've invested a ton of time and energy in trying to understand what happened. But I don't think any of us want to work against our school and our community and Robin. But I can tell you that in change and as just in given where we are, having an organization that none of us believe is credible, that helped us get where we are today, and having that forced upon us when none of us want it, is just mind-boggling to me. Absolutely mind-boggling. So thank you for this forum, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mary Ann Cunningham?
Hi. So my name is Mary Ann Cunningham. I've been a teacher in the district for 15 years. Not necessarily talking to you as a teacher, though I am concerned because I am in the district and the amount of money being put into West Valley, that all the schools would like that money. But I'm talking to you more about a different perspective. So when I was growing up, we moved every 2 or 3 years. So I never went back to visit my school. I never went back to visit my teachers. Growing up, I wanted something different for my daughter. So she went through Stockmar, went all the way through Homestead. She visits her old teachers. She goes online with her old teachers. At Homestead, she met a lot of friends who went to West Valley. They would go back and visit their teachers. So now I've heard from them. Some of those kids are now deciding to be teachers. They're in the teaching program in different places. They're really, really, their world has been kind of turned upside down. Their community has been taken away. Their place of coming to see their teachers is no longer here. The kind of home base that provided, that the community, that the school does provide, is no longer there. And so on top of that, these kids who were on that teaching profession are now wondering, is that something they still want to do when teachers are treated in such a manner? And so what I'm really just asking you to do as you're about to take this vote is to really think about, you as teachers, we're expected to thoughtfully interact with our students and to help them overcome whatever problems we might be encountering through the year. I can't just throw my class away. So just at the same, I would expect my principal to do that for my school. I would expect my superintendent to do that for my whole district. So I'm asking you, just as that we're expected to be thoughtful and supportive with our students, that we expect you to lead us with that same consideration and same thought for the far-reaching impact of your decisions before voting to approve or pass this resolution. And that it's not just affecting us, it's affecting the future of the students who have gone through this district. They are also disheartened. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. My name is Colleen Demore. I've been a parent at West Valley for 13 years, forever. I have 3 children, a 3rd grader and a freshman and a senior in high school at Homestead. I've been an active and involved parent in these 13 years, helping in the classroom, yard duty, walkathons, and I started the running club. My kids have had so many positive memories of West Valley, and I'm so sorry for those of you who haven't. Now, my children's memories have been tainted, and the connections my children had with a caring school community is completely wiped out. You have seriously damaged us, and I asked the superintendent, was it really worth it? I'm asking you here and now to reveal the nature of these tensions without stating the names of those involved. I want proof. I want board members to fulfill their campaign promises of accountability and transparency. Did you see proof before claiming to be on board with this extreme decision? Don't blame the union. I've heard their testimony. It doesn't match your story. Did the mystery tensions involve more than one person claiming to be glared at, or was it stared at? Was it one confidant who aligned with a wildly unsuccessful previous principal who made these inflated claims coached by people so there was an excuse to reinvent a school? This has divided the community. Some parents just want to get back to work and move on, which is fine. Many others are just not so trusting, which you can clearly see on all the various chat rooms, CUSD and other discussion boards. You're obviously monitoring these boards carefully. You see there is continued mistrust and many want answers. And it's not just one side being heard. I've been attacked numerous times. I also ask for kindness. You announced recently only a few parents were still upset about the West Valley situation, and after this board meeting, we would go away and leave you alone. I beg to differ. We're here to stay until you meet the standards of excellence we as parents demand. You may recognize this quote because you just circulated it around your staff, and I find it ironic. Goodness is about character, integrity, honesty, kindness, generosity, moral courage, and the like. More than anything else, it is about how we treat people. You treated the West Valley teachers and staff with brutality and disrespect that is going to make it incredibly difficult to attract high-quality educators to this district. Morale is at an all-time low. Many are looking for the exit doors. The fact that you brought HSD to this district has opened you up to extreme ridicule and has cast our district in an unsavory light. I just want to end with my daughter's experience. She has a perfectly lovely teacher this year. She's very new, she's very young. We're 4 weeks in, she's already missed 3 days of school. I'm glad she's getting the training, I want to support that. But how many more days of substitute teachers are we going to have this year? I support Robin, I support Grady, I want to move forward. But this last week, 3 of my daughter's best friends left the school. They bailed and went to another district because they have absolutely no trust in that West Valley is going to be able to rebound anytime soon. Thank you so much.
Edward Brown.
Edward Brown. First I'd like to respond to your doctor analogy, and I would hope that the doctor would actually talk to the patient before making the decision. It's my understanding that It is my understanding that the no teachers or even the union rep was involved in the closed door session. So I find it hard that you can get a full picture, especially listening and responding to Ms. Golowitz talk about how anybody in favor of the Constitution is getting bullied. Well, I've been receiving threats myself just by posting up legitimate questions, and I've also gotten many thank yous of people asking me, don't you feel threatened for you or your kids by doing that? But thank you for doing it, because they're uncomfortable doing it themselves. And so it's been going both ways. I think Ms. Godlewitz probably knows some of the people that have been doing that from the emails that we've seen on the blog that we all know and love. Okay, now getting to my address of this resolution. I requested the board withholds adoption of resolution number 151606. By endorsing the reconstitution, board members would be affirming that they engaged in due diligence concerning the action to reconstitute West Valley Elementary. The community has discovered a pattern of disinformation and deception surrounding the action. Much of this troubling information has been recently shared with the board, and more is still being uncovered. According to the Deputy District Attorney, the board discussed the reconstitution plan in a single closed session on June 9th under the misleading agenda description of the public employee performance evaluation of Wendy Goodlewitz, during which no formal vote was taken. The superintendent and board president have claimed that your discussion cannot be disclosed because it is a personnel issue. This is misleading because board bylaws BB 9011 does allow you to disclose confidential information, as we already discussed. And I'd also like to point out that the situation has been discussed. Information has been given out, and people have been accused of things, and through innuendo, and so it's not a problem to go farther and explain or give accurate information. Parents were told that the reconstitution was made only after multiple interventions had taken place throughout the year, and tensions existed multiple years. I challenged the board to give the dates or describe any interventions before approving this reconstitution. The board has been given testimony and evidence that the infamous June 2nd facilitation was not an intervention or a mediation or even relevant, as it was falsely portrayed to parents and others. The board has been presented with evidence that the action to reconstitute West Valley was likely retribution against teachers that tried to work with the insular demeanor of the former principal. In contrast, the superintendent made a point of defending the former principal as making a voluntary move on her own initiative, all the while publicly blaming teachers, parents, and union with innuendo. It is clear that most of the statements, assertions, and omissions from the superintendent and repeated by the board president have been to conceal the true motivation or provide false reasons for the action. At this point, the community realizes that West Valley cannot be returned, but the community still seeks an honest recounting of events, an apology to staff and parents, and a change in policy and district staff that prevents a recurrence of this tragedy. Do not now endorse the superintendent's action to reconstitute West Valley. Thank you.
Kathleen Open.
Community, staff, teachers, parents, and students have been broken up by this act. Throughout this process, we have been met with lies and deceit. Later, we learned that 20 of our 24 teachers were going to be reassigned. The board's now signed the resolution to transfer all staff from West Valley. How does this make any sense? A school district is known not only by its excellence in academic performance, but also by the way it treats its employees. Even though we're a top-notch district, the veteran West Valley teachers and staff have received absolutely no respect. While we are on the subject of respect, we do not think bringing us up in conversation, both private and public, in a negative manner is acceptable or professional. This continued disregard for our emotional well-being, starting with the warning letter and with the unexpected and demeaning way of being told we were being transferred, has caused us physical, psychological, and emotional distress. We as educators teach our students the value of respect for one another, conflict resolution, and the right to be heard. Unfortunately, even as a major stakeholder group, we were left out and blindsided. We've been told many times by our superintendent that when a relationship goes sour, we have to divorce each other. We think that a divorce is the last resort after multiple communications, interventions, counseling, and therapy. We were given none, and we were unceremoniously divorced from our well-loved school. Thank you very much.
Melissa Lee.
My name is Melissa Lee, and I'm a West Valley parent. I have 3 children at school there right now. I just have 3 points to make, but first I just want to address something you brought up earlier today. I am not part of any organized parent group, formally or informally. I did not tell anybody I was coming tonight. I did not talk to anybody about what I was going to say. I don't post on blogs. I don't email anybody. I'm respectful of all parents' views, regardless of their experience at the past West Valley. So I just hope that you don't, in one fell swoop, dismiss us all who are angry and disagree with your decision as all being bullies, because I don't feel like I am. Okay, my 3 points I want to make, and they're kind of short. The first one, okay. What I question is the amount of effort that you took, or you say you took, to help intervene and to correct the tension that was going on in West Valley. So here I've got the letter that you sent to us West Valley parents on June 18th, trying to explain the reasons why you're reassigning all the teachers and staff. And I quote here, it says, "The action to reconstitute West Valley was not taken lightly. Multiple interventions took place throughout the year," and then you cited these things, quote, "A new principal was put in place at the beginning of the year. 2, district level union leadership talked with staff. 3, an all-day session with the facility took place at the end of the year to assess school climate. At this meeting, it became clear that progress is minimal." Okay, so you gave 3 reasons, and I would assume that in this very important letter to parents, you would highlight the 3 most important interventions you made. So let me go back to the first one you said. A new principal was put in place at the beginning of the year. So we do have a new principal. I don't have any judgment on how she performed. All I can go by is the information that I see, which, based on what I've read, the emails, the physical emails from her, it sounded like she was failing at collaboration with the teachers and staff. And in one email, it sounded like she admitted that she needed to change her demeanor as well, too. So if she was kind of part of the problem, and I'm not saying that I don't have any judgment on her again, but if she is saying, acknowledging she's part of the problem, do you really consider that an intervention, a valid one? Number 2, you had said here, district level union leadership talk with staff. Well, it sounds like, from what I've heard from the leader of the teachers union, that they were in shock over your decision to pretty much level the school. So I question whether they really were supportive of this and aware, fully aware, and in the same place you were. Then the third thing, actually you didn't write this, but you had sent out that warning memo. You sent that out to them the day after their what you call failed facilitation meeting, but it was backdated a week earlier. So I don't know if that's really considered a good intervention as well. And then the all-day session with facilitator, well, we know how that went. So I don't know if you, so before you take this vote, please ask yourself whether you really tried hard enough to resolve and to mediate before you gutted the school. And last thing here, we're all busy parents. It's hard for me to get here to be at these meetings, but I'm here because I want to tell you I haven't forgotten. We're still angry, but I can still be happy and cheerful on campus and still ensure that kids have a great school year. But I won't rest until you admit that you did wrong or this district leadership gets reconstituted too.
Hello. So, first of all, I'm glad that we had speakers from both sides of the issue, if there are just two sides. And I hope you noticed that the crowd applauded for both sides of people. I have been a member of this community for over a couple of decades, and I believe that this community is one that protects dissenters, not bullies them. I've seen that happen on boards. No doubt there are a few individuals who do go overboard and do bad things, I'll say. To them, I would like to say, please don't. But you see this group of parents here and a few students, but mostly parents. This is not a few parents. Sure, it's not the entire district, but my goodness, at the beginning of this meeting, you characterized the dissenters as, bullies, and just a few bullies. I hope you can see you're wrong in that. Let's see. As for the Brown Act and the analogy with the doctor, if a doctor is doing a study of a group of people, then the group results are put out there without individual identification. And it seems to me, and I think to some other people, that you could do that in this situation, since it was not something about individuals. It was about an entire school. I also support not approving the resolution. I notice that the resolution does nothing to address the concerns of the parents. And oh my goodness, these are your constituents. You're elected people that are supposed to be beholden to constituents. The majority, and the vast majority here, seems against this resolution. I hope you'll really think about that, especially in light of the fact that there has been damage to the trust between the board and the community, and I'd like to see some kind of resolution that will help restore that. Perhaps something acknowledging that this was a sad episode, and acknowledging that a few of you said this isn't going to happen again. Fine. I'd like to see a resolution about that, please.
The time is up. Could you wind up, please? Thank you.
Okay. I'm not the one with the stick here. You guys are the one with the stick. I am glad that you have allowed people to run over a bit. That's great. But, we're not the bullies here. And I hope you won't force things on parents as such a huge surprise in the future. Thank you.
Leslie Grant?
Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not my former colleagues at West Valley. I'm in a different situation than many in that I'm old. I'm 60. I'm old. I'm going to be retiring in 5 or 6 years, and I don't have to work full-time to support my family. And I don't go home to kids. I don't have kids in school. Mine are raised and have kids of their own. I've been in the Cupertino district for 11 years, and I moved to West Valley 6 years ago, and I love that school. And I've been under the 4 principals that were there, 2 of which we couldn't interview or anything. We didn't have any input into who was put into our school to lead us, which I've not seen in other districts. This was new to me, to just have someone thrust upon you, especially from the outside. And
all the people out here, you saw the maturity in our group. You saw the experience. You saw the years of education, and whether you liked us or not as teachers, some of us never had a bad evaluation. Some of us only had good to excellent evaluations. Some of us were never written up. Some of us were never involved in any of this that they say was such tension at West Valley outside of what we had thrust upon us in those last 2 administrators. I didn't see division at all before that, and we didn't have choice.
tension, I didn't see it except what came from the last principal and what happened before that we didn't have anything to do with. Certainly not, but I'm not afraid or intimidated to speak before those of you who made such devastating decisions to us, because I don't have to support myself, and I don't have those kids to raise. But I implore you, board members, to seriously consider what you've heard before you make this decision, because a lot of us are excellent teachers in our new places and at West Valley, and a lot of us never saw these horrendous tensions that keep getting referred to. In fact, I've specifically asked our superintendent and other people, what issues? What did I do? What issues? What did I do? Tell me. We can't talk about it because they're personnel issues. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank that ends all the public comment for tonight. I'd like to thank.
I haven't speak yet.
Do you have a card?
Is it too late?
Oh, I'm sorry. I announced earlier that the cards had to be in before.
Let her speak. Let her speak.
Free time.
As long as we don't have a herd of people.
I'll speak on time.
All right.
I'll speak within.
Okay. All right, Lloyd, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for making that exception. I really appreciate it. I wasn't planning to speak because I stand with the large group of parents here before. But after listening to all the speakers as well as the school board members, I feel compelled to speak. You know, when my son was in kindergarten 6 years ago, you know, I was heavily involved with Tiffin campaign, as well as some of you here today. I recognize many of the faces here. And the board, some of you were involved, you know, Soma was involved. And the key ingredient to the success of the campaign was really teamwork and collaborations. And so everyone worked together, teachers, all the different unions make sacrifice. They gave up 5 furlough days. So And I recall back then, Phil Kwan, former superintendent, retired, and then, Anjali had a search process and then getting community input. That was great. I was involved with the process. And everybody asked for a leader that is a collaborator, including the teachers, the parent communities. So, I trusted the board to make the right decision. And when I heard that, Wendy has solid background in curriculum and whatnot, I was looking forward to that. And our current principal also told me that Wendy visited McAuliffe and she spoke highly of that school, and she said that, that should be a model for the other schools, because our approach has been focusing on teamwork and collaborations. But given what is going on with West Valley situations, I think the leadership style from the board as well as from the district leadership has been totally opposite. It has nothing to do with teamwork and collaborations. So I think that the board made a mistake in hiring the current superintendent. I don't know why, because if you have done your homework, it's very, very clear to me that the current leadership, district leadership, doesn't have teamwork and collaboration approach. So you made a mistake, first mistake. You don't want to admit it, fine. And then you make the second mistake with West Valley situations. So I like to think that if I do that to my kid bullies someone else, and I keep telling him that, you know what, you're such a great kid, continue to do that. I love you. That is exactly what I'm seeing right now. And after all this parents, teachers talking to you about what's going on, not only you don't listen to them, you keep saying that the current superintendent is great, everything is perfect. You know what, at the end of the day, the bottom line is that I am going to remind the community and everybody when election season comes. Everyone needs to get out and vote, and we need some solid people to run for school board next year because they are falling asleep. Thank you.